Good evening, Mountaineer Nation, and welcome into the Mountaineer Effect. I'm your host, Marcus Dean. Welcome into the broadcast right here on Geek Gorilla TV on YouTube. We certainly love having you guys here with us. If you like what you see, like what you hear, please click that like and subscribe button right there on your screen. We'd certainly love to have your feedback as well. As always, my broadcast partner is here with me, Sam. And we got a special edition. Our friend from last week, Cody, has decided to join the broadcast team for this week as well. So, fellas, let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room, shall we? Before we get to the Iowa State talk for this weekend. Apparently, according to multiple sources, that Neal Brown has been touted by, let's say, South Carolina. Along with several other top coaches. Neal Brown is one of the favorites to be selected as University of South Carolina's new head football coach. Sam, how nervous are you?
I mean, here's what it comes down to. Do I think Neal Brown's going to leave? No, because I feel like going to South Carolina is a completely lateral move. It's not a step up. It's not a step down. It's just personal preference.
Mm-hmm.
I think any money that they could offer him, West Virginia could match. That's why, us not getting to play Oklahoma this week kind of bums me out, because that was, our contractual game that we've talked about all season long, where, if they do good against Oklahoma, if they could upset Oklahoma, go ahead and give him an extension. So you kind of dismissing that now.
Right.
What would happen is, and then here's the thing. I don't think he'll leave, but what would happen if he left? You would see a mass exodus of what Mountaineer players. I think Daggy would go, Letty would go, a couple of the receivers would go, all the recruits would go. It would be a complete dismantling of West Virginia football. So I think West Virginia, if they're smart, they realize that, they know that, they won't let that happen. Because it really could be the death penalty for the West Virginia football program if they let something silly like that happen.
I agree. What do you think, Cody?
Yeah, personally, I definitely think Neal. I think Neal enjoys and appreciates the rumors and the speculation that other programs want him, and a lot of it goes back to what he did for Troy, because he turned that program around completely. But I had a buddy. I had DM'd him. He had posted about it, and he's an OU fan as well. And I saw it, and I told him, I was like, look, man, just take it from me. Neal is not leaving West Virginia. I said, if there was ever a safe bet that you had to bet the house on, it's Neal staying. I can't see him leaving the program. I think he came into West Virginia seeing how Dana just announced his departure, leaving. And I think he knows that with West Virginia's history of coach exits, he does not want to be a statistic in that category. So me personally, I don't see him leaving, and I think that he is the answer that the Mountaineer football program has been needing for arguably since Rich Rod.
I mean, I think we were talking earlier, Sam and I, we've always been talking about the Oklahoma game would have been like we said, the contract game. I mean, this, I think he could use his agent to sway West Virginia into maybe going ahead and doing that 3-year extension like they typically would do, and maybe bump his salary up to over $3 million a year, 3.2, 3.3 million, with some extra incentives and to throw on as terms of maybe a couple extra years to see what could bite.
I really think that your football coach, and this isn't a slight towards Bob Huggins, but I think that your football coach, especially in this situation with West Virginia, should really be commensurate with your basketball coach. Bob Huggins, I think he makes $3.8, almost $4 million a year. I think, you need to go ahead and get Neal up around that amount. That's a problem West Virginia's always had is, problems with paying. And, when Dana was wanting more money, I was all about don't pay him. He's not worth it. Neal Brown is 10-10 in 2 seasons. He's got a lot left to prove, but the proof's in the pudding. You can already tell that he's worth paying. I would go ahead and let's get that salary up to about $5 million a year. Let's give him a 8-year extension. Let's keep him through from 2020 to 2030. Let him get 8-10 years in full swing in his program, and let's just see what he can do. I think it's time for the Mountaineer Nation to commit itself to this coach more than it has already.
Mm-hmm. More or less stability comes to mind for me. I mean, stability. I mean, that would put stability so much in favor of the Mountaineers.
South Carolina is making a big move, and I respect the big move. But I think West Virginia, the administrators, they really need to take a look at this and think about what this could do to the program. I mean, it really could be football suicide if they don't make sure we keep him.
Let's play devil's advocate here. Obviously, I'm not a regular on the Mountaineer Effect, mainly because I'm an OU fan at heart. But say Neal Brown walks and goes to South Carolina, who would you guys want to hire?
If if Neal walked in a perfect world for a retirement, for like for the sake of argument, like a retirement tour, would be Nick Saban. Nick Saban would be the ultimate retirement tour, 3-4 years. That would be ultimate retire, pay him what he wants, because he's from West Virginia, and maybe he could have an awesome coach in waiting, possibly. But in reality, for me, my reality would be Luke Fickell from University of Cincinnati, because he's looking for a Power 5 job.
I really can't get into the realm of who the guy would be. I could name Saban or Jim Harbaugh, or, I could name all kinds of names, but
that would be interesting.
I mean, there's a lot of interesting ideas, but if Neal Brown walks tomorrow, my first call is going to be to Byron Leftwich, offensive coordinator for the Bucks. And I'm going to do that because he is either going to stay with the Bucks or he's going to be head coach in the NFL next year. You would lure him into a couple of seasons at WVU where his offensive style is commensurate to what Neal Brown's already installed. So it wouldn't be too far of a stretch for that. That would probably be my first call. And then probably, I mean, if we're back into that would be my wild call, I guess, if I was back into the realm of reality. I mean, you could look at Coastal Carolina. What's his name? Chadwell from Coastal Carolina, who's doing some good things there. I think he could come in and pick the program up and run with it. But, for me, it's hard to get away from Neal Brown just because I know what would happen to the players. Like, it's you would see something that you've never seen before, and that's a mass exodus of players. You really would.
Yeah.
You'd see so many decommits that the program would be in trouble. It would take somebody that could stop the bleeding and do it really, really quick. You could also go after a guy like, Alabama's offensive coordinator, Sarkisian.
Yeah.
I mean, that wouldn't be somebody bad to go after. I still don't think that they don't do it for me the way Neal Brown does. I mean, I know I've been critical of Neal, but I mean, what he's building is if you know football, you see exactly what he's doing. The thing about why I like Neal Brown so much, talking about trusting the climb, is because the climb's bigger than even Neal Brown. It's we went off the rails with Holgorsen. There was no growth under Holgorsen. It was mediocrity. When we went from Nealon to Rodriguez, there was a climb. And then when we went from Rodriguez to Holgorsen, it was just a plateau. And with Neal, there are steps being made forward to continue the climb. And if we can't find a guy that has that kind of vision, then I mean the program's just it's dead in the water.
I agree wholeheartedly. So let's go ahead and flip the script here. Let's go over to Iowa State. Coming up this weekend, it's going to be a 3:30 kick on ESPN. Iowa State. Part of me thinks, okay, this could be something. I've been looking forward to this game. gauge how the Mountaineers are doing this season. But then again, this is a part of what we've been saying for a couple of broadcasts now. This is our murderer's row, and it's game number
4 of 4, but 3 of 4.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've already beat TCU. So, we've got, one down. What do you think? I mean, I don't know. I know they got a great quarterback, but outside of that, I really can't see much out of them. I mean, other than that.
The way it kind of looks to me, it's a really winnable ball game. Iowa State squeaked past Texas this past week. I think it was a 3-point game.
Yep.
West Virginia played Texas really strongly. Should have beat Texas. Iowa State has been up and down. Unlike where Oklahoma was down at the beginning of the year and their pendulum started swinging up, Iowa State's kind of been, their pendulum's been back and forth. They've been up and down and all around. And I think coming off of, 3 weeks off now.
Yeah.
West Virginia is going to be hungry. They're going to be healthy. They're going to be energetic. They're going to be ready to play. So me personally, I have to give the edge to West Virginia just because of that.
From an outsider's perspective, me personally, I think, so there's two things that I'm thinking. Number one is that, when we first started GGTV, we all discussed our predictions for the season, and Sammy and myself said that we had Iowa State and OU going to the Big 12 championship. My second thing that I wanted to say is I think Iowa State is your best gauge for your contract negotiations for Neal, and also for where you guys really stand as a program.
The looks that you're going to get the next 2 games are not going to be realistic. That's why I hope that if they can just win one of the 2, I'll be really happy with that.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And, just thinking too, a lot of the different bowl games are starting to take shape. I did notice a lot of the bowl games are starting to have us in it, more specifically the Texas Bowl, the Liberty Bowl, and the First Responders Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. And they're all just a variety of different opponents, mainly from the SEC. And the Texas Bowl was one I would love to see it happen if it could happen. They had it forecasted for us to play LSU.
You got any bold predictions for this week?
Ooh, bold predictions. You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm the type, I've been going a little bit further out. I don't know why, but where we've been well rested, I think Letty is going to go off in this game. I'm just feeling that the offensive line is going to be well rested, well prepared. And last game, Letty had a great game as well. I'm going to say Letty totes the rock at least 20 times, goes for 150, scores twice, and also catches a touchdown pass.
I can get on board with that totally. I think that's a good prediction. That was kind of where I was leaning. I think Letty's going to have a big week. I think, he of course will break 1,000 yards this week. I think he'll break it with no problem. I can totally get on board with that. Score wise, I'm going to say, I think West Virginia is gonna win in a pretty big way. I'm going to say 28-18 is where I'm going to say. They won't make the spread, which is 50.5. Or which is set. The spread is 7. The over/under is 50.5. I don't think they'll make it, but I think West Virginia comes away with at least a 10-point victory.
Yeah, I'm thinking more along the lines of a 31-17 ball game. I think that's where it'd be a good landing spot. I think Daggie's going to have a great game. Overall, the defense I think is going to be scary good too, because they're going to be licking their chops to get after somebody.
Yeah, and you look at the history of Iowa and West Virginia. West Virginia's 5-3 all time. Their scores average around a 38-14 score. So we're in the ballpark there. I think there's some good predictions.
What do you think, Cody?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I think 28-17, somewhere around there. I think it'll be a little closer than what people think, but I think it'll say more about WVU. I mean, what Iowa State is really, really good this year, but like I said, they're always inconsistent. I think Iowa State is a good. I think that's the good gauge for you guys. I don't think it's Oklahoma. I think Iowa State is the measuring stick for what you guys should compete with. I think if you guys win and you beat them soundly, especially considering where they're at in the standings, I think that says a lot of good things about Neal and the future of the program. So that's what I think. And I think 28-17, somewhere around there.
Thanks for watching tonight's broadcast of the Mountaineer Effect right here on Gorilla TV. And like I said in the beginning of the broadcast, if you like what you see, please do click and subscribe to the buttons right there. And this has been Marcus Dean alongside Sammy and Cody for the Mountaineer Effect. Let's go, Mountaineers.